It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
All right, and we are live. Hello, everybody, and a very warm welcome. There are a lot of German viewers, so this live stream will be in English. But you can watch it afterwards with German subtitles. And we have George here. Very warm welcome, George. And Andreas is here. Ulrich. So Julian, very warm welcome. So today I'm very honored and I feel very privileged to have these guys with me up here. It's Graham and Ben. So Graham, you might know from other live streams, and in the future we will be doing some more live streams. And this is Ben. You might also remember him from some live streams. And you guys released a single. And I can't wait to hear the story, how the two of you got together. But before we get into this, Ben, you are the stepson of Kip Carmen.
Yeah,
and here it is. Here he is. And maybe you can, because he's not a household name, which is very unfortunate. I've heard the tracks you guys released, and I'm totally in love with them. And we're gonna play them shortly after. But maybe you can tell us a little bit about your stepfather, Kip.
Sure. And I'll start just to get it out of the way, kind of where I come into the picture. So Kip met my mother in 1984, I believe. I would have been 5 years old at the time. And that was kind of an interesting time in Kip's career as an artist. He's still alive, by the way. Oh, there he's watching. I told him we'd be on.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome. What an honor to have you here, Kip. Thanks for joining.
So in 1984, when Kip came into my life, he was kind of in a transition, wrapping up kind of the recording phase of his career, moving more into having a band and booking fancier events and club dates and things that a musician needs to do to make a living, which he did as a musician, as a band leader up through the, I believe, late 90s or early 2000s. Kip can correct me if I get something wrong in the comments. But before Kip came into my life and before I was born, he had quite a bit of a recording career. He opened for a lot of artists, Albert King, B.B. King, Neil Diamond, Maxine Brown, had a reputation as a live performer. But I think what most people would recognize his name is he had a recording contract with High Records and released one single on one of their subsidiaries, Mach Records. But he recorded at Royal Studios with Bill Cantrell, met Willie Mitchell, and did that whole thing. After he left Memphis and High Records, he turned down a deal from Atlantic Records and just did various solo recording projects with some really top-tier musicians. So Kip and Cornell Dupree worked together very closely. Cornell Dupree, your audience, I would expect, would know from Aretha Franklin, Donny Hathaway, just many of the best artists ever. And various other artists. A good friend of Kip's and my family is a guy named James Allen Smith. We called him Jimmy Smith, but not the jazz organ player. He played with Robert Palmer, Candy Staton, Chuck Rainey. These were top-tier musicians, and they were alongside with various of Kip's projects. But the record that Graham and I worked on putting out, and we have for you now, that comes from 1973. As Kip was getting a reputation in Memphis, that's when that record came out. And this was just before things started happening and before he signed with High Records. So this is his second single and really kind of nice document of the time in 1973 with all these different influences going around. So that's my, I'll start it there and I'm sure we'll explore further.
Great. And Graham, you are, you have a record label continued sound, and you put out a great album, which I very much liked. I was even mentioned in the album. That was a great honor for me. So how did you guys work that out?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, I think you were instrumental in the linking of the two of us. So Ben has been on your show on talking about Latin records, and so you guys got together probably through the love of records as you and I did. And then I think either on a stream or behind the scenes, you mentioned that you had a friend, Nadine, named Ben, whose stepdad had done a lot of amazing music and work in the 70s and was sort of looking for a home to put all these amazing recordings. And that piqued my interest as a young record label trying to find releases and find great music and see my mission through of finding music and giving it to the people for a new audience. And luckily it worked out. It was a lot of talks and working through the kinks in the making, but such is the journey of putting out an album and putting out new music. And it's just so cool to have it out now. It's just the most fulfilling thing in the world to have your record come out, but also, everyone who loves collecting records and digging through records loves finding something rare, and to be able to make that less rare and give it to the people is so fun.
Yeah. So if I understood it correctly, the single, which you're releasing already came out, right? Mm-hmm. The original one.
Yes.
But it's super, 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 super rare, right?
Very rare. I mean, once every couple of years, a couple will pop up. I think there's a few on Discogs now, maybe a couple in decent condition, but, well over $100. But the record, I can show the original 45. This is not the reissue.
Wow.
But this came out on a label called Queen Bee, and there were 1,000 or so pressed. Kip gave a lot of them out when he was touring in Memphis. But they kind of made their way around the world. And what's interesting is, Nadine, you've had the experience of talking to some artists who did stuff that wasn't huge in the 60s, 70s, and around that time, but they get rediscovered. And this single was one of the first things that people would start reaching out to Kip, because he had a website from around 2009 on. He's on Facebook. He just set up an Instagram at Kip Carmen Music. Nothing there yet, but so people started reaching out, and the first thing was this single. People wanted to know more about it. One of the songs here, called That's Enough for Me, was recorded by another band called Compass that, I don't know, a lot of the Northern Soul people have glommed onto and gotten interested in. So a lot of people were like, okay, who is this Kip Carmen who wrote this song, That's Enough for Me? And then they found this record, and this one has been in demand, but now we're putting it out. And it blows his mind that, this single that he cut without really thinking more of it in the 70s. How did somebody in the UK or Europe or Germany find out about this and reach out to him? Like, every single time it happens, he's amazed, and he loves that.
How about we play the track? So first of all, I consider myself very lucky and privileged to connect the two of you so you can make that project. And I feel also very privileged to have, because there's a huge hype over this record, that I can offer it in my small online store. Hurry up, because like I said, it's in huge demand. And I also linked the tracks up here, and we're going to listen to This Island Is Our Home.
Maybe This Island Is Our Home is not on the 7-inch, so I can maybe explain.
Yeah, go ahead.
So a little bit of backstory real quick. Part of what prompted, Nadine, you to introduce me and Graham was I was embarking on a project of getting Kip's music remastered, restored. Kip and I bought back the rights to some of his most sought after recordings, like This Island Is Our Home, which we'll get to. That's besides the Queen Bee single. That's the one that is most in demand and has gone for the most money. So I've got a bunch of material. Not all of it has come out yet. I put about an album's worth of a collection of various singles and stuff that's never been heard before outside of a few people onto a new album that's on streaming called That's Enough for Me, Singles and Unreleased Recordings. What we've got is a 7-inch with 2 songs, the first 2 that are on that streaming collection. So the 2 songs that Graham and I are putting out called That's Enough for Me and Loving in the Morning. But I definitely want to get to This Island Is Our Home as well.
Yeah,
but I know it's a little confusing.
No worries, because that's what I wanted to ask. Because on the cover it says singles and unreleased recording, and it's a 7-inch, so it has 2 songs. But I would say let's hear a little bit of That's Enough for Me, which is features on the single, and I totally adore it.
I've got chains by my whole life. Girl, I sure need for my wife. Time's getting short, 'cause I'm getting older. Another generation will have to take over. If the world doesn't set me free, there's nothing I can do. What I think and what I say will only be heard by you. But that's enough for me. That's enough for me. That's enough for me.
What a track. Damn, I love this track. It's absolutely adorable. That's a great one. And so if I want to have the whole album on vinyl.
The entire album is not out as of yet. You know, that's part of my process. Graham and I, on Graham's label, put out the 7-inch. There's no immediate plans to release the whole thing on vinyl, but I'm sure it will all come out eventually. I've also got an album that has never been released and has a bunch of tracks that nobody's heard. So I'm looking for a home for that as well. But this is the beginning of a journey of really trying to shed more light on Kip's catalog and have it all come out eventually. But for right now, we're starting with the single.
Yeah, it's fun. It's almost, for this generation, it's introducing a new artist for the first time. So you almost want to go the way you would with a new artist. You send a single and get that traction, put it in chops and just see how it plays and get people really excited about these singles or the single, and then, leave them wanting more, as they say. And I think they will. I think what I think is so great about this single and these songs is that they feel so of their time and they feel so authentic that I know a lot of bands since and bands currently are putting out music that might have sort of a retro sound or a 70s sound, but you just, as vinyl lovers, we know you can't fully duplicate that sound because there's just so many factors at play and they all exist in these songs, and you get to hold it again. And there was just so many bands, Kip's story is a test to that. Were so many bands at the time, you couldn't have shone a light on all of them specifically and given them all their own illustrious career. But now that with history, you can go back and sort of go treasure hunting and find something great and put it out again.
Yeah, and I think back in the day, the issue with marketing and budget for certain artists, if you don't spend money on marketing, because back in the day, there was no social media. You could have, put yourself out there and being, found on YouTube and say, oh, you are the greatest. So and if you were on a small label and they decided where to put the marketing money,
Yeah.
So, and that was, I think, also a big issue for artists back in the day. You had highly talented people, and they couldn't get their breakthrough because they were on a sub label where the distribution was meant that people drove around in cars and sold these singles out of the trunk.
Yeah. And that was a big frustration for Kip over the course of his career, because he was always, an independent-minded person. He wanted to do things his way. He wanted to have control over his career. So kind of one of the reasons he didn't get bigger is he was always butting up against one of the forces that were kind of controlling him, whether it's management, whether it's the record label. And as we'll hear when we listen to some more songs, he would kind of do songs in different styles every time he released a record. He didn't have that one identifiable thing. He didn't sound like Stevie Wonder or Otis Redding or anything. He sounded like his own person. And he would have been much more suited, ironically, to this time if he was a young artist now, where you can take control of your own career and do it how you want. But you were kind of under control back then. And real quick, I saw somebody was asking about digital release. If you go to Kip's Bandcamp page, I think that's kipcarmen.bandcamp.com. I'm selling the entire album as a digital download, high quality. So you can get it that way. That whole singles and unreleased collection is available on all streaming platforms, but you can get a nice set of high quality digital files at the Bandcamp.
You said in the beginning restoring the material.
Mm-hmm.
So from my own experience, I know this is a pain in the, So how long did it take to have a proper restoration of the material?
Yeah, there were a few things. It took a while, mostly because I had some really great engineers who are very busy. So kind of getting into their schedule. Now, in full disclosure, this record, the 7-inch that we have coming out, there's no master tape for that. We had to do a needle drop from this very clean original copy that I have. And who I got to do that is a mastering engineer who's brilliant, named Dave Gardner, who is known very much now for working with Org Music. He's doing the entire Westbound reissue series. That's going to include Funkadelic titles and lots of other good stuff. He is amazing. So he did a digital transfer from the vinyl, did all kinds of wizardry to clean that up and make that sound as good as it could possibly sound. It is like right up there with the original. And speaking of somebody who has both. So that was on those two songs. There's other songs that I do have a master tape for This Island's Our Home.
Please show it again. No.
Yeah. This was recorded at Media Sound, which is a very well-known studio in New York City. There's some other songs that are on the way later that were recorded at a studio called Normandy Sound in Rhode Island. Very top quality studios. There's some other stuff randomly that was recorded in a few other studios in New York and Long Island. And we had various sources for that. Some of the stuff, honestly, I searched everywhere. The best source that we could find was a cassette tape that Kip has been carrying around with him for decades, kept very clean. But what the engineers did with a cassette tape was amazing. I can tell you some of the songs were, I had the master tape and I have a cassette tape, and the digital transfer from the cassette tape blew away the transfer from the 1/4-inch master tape at 30 IPS.
You're kidding.
And that I should call her out, especially the archivist named Catherine Vericoli. She's around the Nashville area. What she does is absolutely amazing. And she and Dave Gardner work hand in hand. She's also working on the Westbound reissue series. So that's kind of what goes into restoration, is finding the best source you can. If it's a pristine master tape, that's great. With this lesser known music, it often is not. That's a luxury of some of the, the bigger studios and bigger labels. But then getting really good transfer and then having a brilliant mastering engineer who knows how to work in digital, like Dave Gardner, and they can do amazing things in digital. And I love AAA analog releases as much as anybody, but sometimes digital is what you have. And these days they can do a really fantastic job with that.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't think it's run nowadays. So with needle drops, I remember back in the day, oh my God, you made a needle drop. I spit on you. It was like this for us vinyl lovers. Oh my God, how can you do this? But with technology of today, some of these needle drops are just amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like with needle drops, it has that dirty connotation, but I do think that harkens back to sort of the purism, the purity of back in the day. But like these days, the next album that I have, if it's a needle drop remastered, I want to make a documentary about it, because there's machines and x-rays and microscopic technology where you can just see the damages of the grooves and what they're going to repair. And it's just so fascinating what goes into that. Obviously a master tape is ideal, but that's the end of the story. And we just heard a cool story from just sort of a nerd perspective of what I want to get into. I want to hear a backstory. I want to hear like what went into the work went into creating the sound and making it the best sound it can be. And in 2025, I think we're going to, we achieve something that's on par and has a cooler, sort of scrappier approach to it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because in some cases, and also with the master tapes, if you don't put them into a vault where you have the perfect temperature, and even then, this material over decades deteriorates.
Mm-hmm.
So, and in some cases, a needle drop has a better quality than the master tape.
Yep.
So like George is saying, that was a long time ago. Needle drops can be outstanding, so there's nothing wrong with a needle drop. Coleman did a reissue of a soul record, which I totally adored, and the reissue sounded better than the original with the latest technology.
Yeah.
And when it comes to needle drops versus master tapes, I think what that sensibility is born out of is like original, you're releasing a John Coltrane album or something, and the fact that you have access to some sort of masters is just mind-blowing. But I think another angle to come at it, especially from a label as small as mine, is like, we're bringing you artists that you may have never heard of. That's, to me, is the fun and the appeal, is by hook or by crook, as they say, we got this to you in a way, and we did it by any means necessary. But it's just exciting for me to discover new music from the period that I love that I haven't heard before.
Absolutely. And Ben was so right. When I listened to the tracks from Kip, it could have been recorded like 2 years ago, 5 years ago. So that was absolutely outstanding. And I totally adore and love the fact that independent labels like you have, Graham, put the love and the effort into it to do that, because let's be honest, you're not getting rich from this. You have to put, not at all. So, and that's what I really adore, is to kind of bring that to the people. And I do hope that Kip now gets the recognition he truly deserves, because from what I've heard, I was like, oh my God, I love it.
Yeah. And while you're on the topic of the care that went into this, it's very nice that Graham, with his label, also a graphic designer, so made this. The jacket is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Front and back, and we've got an insert with some photos from back in the day and liner notes with the history that I wrote myself.
Please show the insert again. I'll make you big. Please show the insert again. Oh, look at that. You had clippings from back in the day. Look at that 70s font. Oh my God, look at his outfit. Oh my God. I love it.
Yeah.
And the picture on the bottom, he truly looks like a rock star. Look at him. Adorable. Absolutely adorable. Would you like to turn it around again that we can see the liner notes?
Yep.
Oh,
it's about
beautiful.
650 words-ish, something like that. Or 600.
Yeah. As a graphic designer, there's nothing I love more than some liner notes. It's critical, I think, to a release. It's not so common to get liner notes with a single, with a 45, but that's how I imagine and how I picture someone enjoying this record, is putting it on, listening to the songs, and looking at the pictures and reading the back. It's the full experience of a vinyl record, and that's why digital will never replace it. It's tactile, and I'll never not have sort of a release with something to go along with it for you to learn while you listen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you also have to consider with this design process, it takes hours to come up with the idea and the fonts and everything, and you won't get paid for this. There's no larger company who says, Graham, I'm paying you a couple of $100 an hour to do this. So you're doing this all out of labor for love for this kind of music. And I'm happy that this is out now. And I do hope, Ben, that you're going to do the album on vinyl, because from what I've heard, I was like, I'm loving it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
What's your favorite track so far?
Well, there's 2 on the vinyl release.
But we could, let's talk about any of them, because it's just, let's get everyone to like fall in love with Kip, because it's imminent.
Yeah. So this, I love various tracks that Kip has done. This Island Is Our Home is a special one. As I said, this is after That's Enough for Me. This Island Is Our Home was the one that people were writing to Kip, looking for, and all that. And what kicked off this project, sorry if I said this, I can't remember. Kip and I bought back the rights to certain master recordings, and included in that was This Island Is Our Home. That was financed back in the late 70s, early 80s by a guy who had a record label for a short time. He then became an owner of Normandy Sound, the recording studio, and they really did their best to get it out there. As a coincidence, This Island Is Our Home came out in a single.
Before you show the single,
okay. Yeah.
Let's hear a little bit
Okay.
of This Island Is Our Home.
Sure.
It's beautiful, beautiful song.
We're gonna stay right here till we make it. This island is our home. Everyone's high on our island. This island is our home. We're hungry, but satisfied. We're learning the reason why. We've got to keep on dreaming, working and believing.
Okay, before YouTube kicks us out.
Oh, they won't. I own the rights, and I will not kick you off.
Thank you very much. So, like you mentioned earlier, this one is unfortunately not on the single, but we do hope that there will be a vinyl release of this coming up, because it's gorgeous. It's an absolutely gorgeous. I can't praise Kip enough. It's wonderful.
So what? This Island Is Our Home had a reissue. I think it came out in 2020 by a German label, actually, MTMU. And they did it as a 12-inch 45 with This Island Is Our Home and another song, again, as a single. But a couple songs and a longer version. They did a very nice job with it, actually. Sound-wise, it sounds really good. The mastering engineer was good. The transfer was good. I think I'm going to be able to top it with the people that I have now, but it is a really good sounding release, and it is out there. But I will show you.
Yes, hold on for a minute. I'll make you big. Here we go.
Kip's name on this particular one, you might notice, is misspelled as Kid Carmen. Right. I don't know how that happened, but
Kip's poor name has been butchered over the years.
Yeah. What Graham is referencing is Kip's first single in 1972. They wanted him to use a different name, not Kip Carmen, but they made him go by Kip Carson because it rhymed with a Western TV show in the 50s called The Adventures of Kit Carson. And so the record comes out and Kip can't use his own name. So he's just bouncing around the record industry. And that's kind of what happens. And then his name is misspelled here. And some more unfortunate, as they were doing a big push for this single in 1980, I believe the date was December 8th, 1980. I might be getting this wrong, but it was the date that John Lennon was assassinated. And from then on, for months and months, you could not get anything on a radio station. You could not get press. All people wanted to talk about was John Lennon and the Beatles, understandably. So that was one of the coincidences that got in Kip's way.
Yeah,
But
endless things that can just, anchor, just can like halt your career, and they're out of your control.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but there's so many things in music, business, music industries. They are so, in some cases I've learned, especially in the 70s, that the mob was very much active in the music industry.
Mhm.
So even if you had all the talents, you had the right producers, you had everything,
Yeah.
sometimes it didn't work out during, people had other interests in mind and that wasn't yours. So what I think is great about Kip is that he said, okay, I don't want to be put into the music business under other people's conditions.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do it my way. I want to sing the songs I want to sing. I want to sing my own material. I want to have it produced the way I do. And if you do that, you need to be a very tough person to not fall into temptation, like, oh, come to us, sign the contract, and we push you, and you become the biggest star, and all of this. So I think that was very brave of him to stay on his ground and say no. And even if I don't make the superstar career, I stay true to myself.
Yeah. Funny story about that. When Kip was at High Records, and Kip is probably going to laugh because he loves to tell me this story. He recorded some songs there. He also recorded a song which he really wanted to come out. He had one record come out on the Mock Records subsidiary called Makin' Woman Blues. And that was under his High recording contract. But he recorded another song called Smoke the Pipe in 1974. And Bill Cantrell from High Records loved it. That song, the groove was there. Everything was happening. But High Records was distributed by London. And the distributor London called up and said, we are not putting out that song. That song is going nowhere. Just put that back on the shelf. And wasn't too long after that Kip and High Records parted ways, and he went on to the next thing. So,
did you ever learn why? Was it just, yeah?
I think it was just the reference. London wasn't comfortable. That wasn't what they were going for. Smoke the pipe. Yeah.
Thank you, Graham. Thank you.
Yeah.
But was it about that kind of topic? It could have meant something different.
Well, Kip's ancestry is Native American, as we didn't say specifically, and he weaved that in and out, and that was part of Smoke the Pipe. But with Kip, there's always like multiple meanings going on.
Yeah, and another thing that is interesting about Kip's journey is, there's these outside factors that you can't control, but then there's another factor, which is, how you envision yourself, how you want to portray yourself, your authenticity that you want to keep intact. And then, as my understanding, after Kip Carmen and the New Frontier, which are accredited to this single, it was him and his band did well, and everyone really enjoyed it. And it was the group was working well. His management wanted him to go to Las Vegas, which is, a very 70s sort of idea. Like, let's get you in Vegas, let's get you to make the big bucks, and kind of wring you out for everything we can while you're hot. And Kip didn't want to do that. He was like, that's not where I see my career going. I want to have more integrity than that. And who knows what would have happened to him there, but he just knew that was like where he drew the line. And so there's just another hurdle that your career has. Someone's like, with their best interests in mind, like, here's what we want to do with your career.
Yeah, I think Dusty Springfield, was also offered to do a Vegas run. And she said, I'm not the artist to be 1 month on the same stage doing 2 shows a day, ruin my voice, and this is not the type of artist I want to be. If you see like with Elvis, who did this for years, a couple of times a year, and touring, it takes a toll, and you don't want to be that kind of showmanship person, the typical Las Vegas showmanship person. And from the music I've heard from Kip, I don't think that would have fit to him.
Right.
Yeah,
No,
and in Las
definitely
Vegas, it seems like in still Las Vegas's business model is like take someone that is beloved and then bring them to Las Vegas, like a Britney Spears or someone, and then they capitalize on how many people know them already. But if you're an unknown and you go to Vegas, you probably have to work your butt off and play rooms that are half full of gamblers. It's just like, it's the opposite of glitz and glamour.
Right.
Yeah, and people eating sandwiches.
Yeah, you're just the
and
background.
Just sitting around, and it's not that you get your message, what you meant to say with the songs, that you get people thinking about the meaning of your songs. That's not the right environment to do that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have done it.
We wouldn't have been invited, Graham.
Oh man, I'm not allowed in Las Vegas.
So, from High Records, I can introduce a little more about Kip. He bounced around, like I said, ended up compiling some material, some of which was recorded at Royal Studios with Bill Cantrell. That was given back to Kip, some of which was recorded in New York City. And this is no small thing. In the late 70s, and finally coming out in 1980, Kip self-released a full-length LP. It's getting in the way of my mic here.
Look at this cover. Oh my God.
Fantastic.
Sorry for the light shining on that.
Do I need to sell an arm or a leg to get a copy of this one?
Not yet. They're hard to find now. I think there's copies that come up for $40.
You should have told me that before the stream.
But this album, self-released on Kip's own label that he had, and he just got this pressed. And this is where he started working with Cornell Dupree, James Allen Smith. Also on this record, Jerry Jamot, legendary bass player on many sessions. Chris Parker, drummer, who's in the band Stuff and played with Steely Dan or some of those guys, Donald Fagen, and tons of people. Chris Parker was amazing. And lots of other great people. So if you want to play a track from here, I put this up on streaming, digitized. So this is on all major streaming platforms. But if you look for a track called Stampede, that might be a good one.
Hold on a minute. I will do that. Stampede?
Stampede, Stampede.
Stampede. Yeah, we make everything possible. Kip Carmen. There's one copy from this album on Discogs.
Yeah, not easy to find. Self-released album. I used to see these growing up on Long Island in like the public library because it went around everywhere on Long Island, but not many around these days.
No, now the copy is gone.
Is it?
Yeah, I just bought it.
Oh, okay.
All right, here we go. I love it. And look at the picture.
So that picture's from a compilation that this did get licensed out a few years ago. But there's also, you can stream from this album. You can find the full album on all the streaming platforms. But this particular song did get out before on a compilation.
You look at this beautiful man.
I don't know who that is. That's not Kip,
but look at him.
Yeah.
But why would
Everybody
somebody put a picture of somebody else on this tune?
Yeah, it's the cover of the whole compilation.
Yeah.
So they just use the same artwork.
but nice. So, and what also happened is from what I've just seen is that Pieces of Vinyl, first of all, thank you for joining. Also, great YouTube channel. Highly
Yes.
recommended. Is there were
Thanks,
two
Rocco.
copies. Yeah. There were 2 copies and they are both now gone.
Now it's even just got more rare.
Yeah,
It's
now it's
rarer by
getting
the
more rare. Next time I should check that out with you guys before we do the stream.
Yeah.
Well, I think
Great record.
I think we should play, if we have access to it, the other track on this single, because it happens to be my favorite of
Okay, yeah.
Sure.
stuff, which is called Loving in the Morning. And the moment I heard that was when I tapped in and I was like, we gotta look into it. I feel like it's one of the more soulful, it's slow, it's sexy, and it just feels like a great blend of, if you were to categorize Kip, it would be, it has like some folky elements, but ultimately like a great soul track. So I feel like it's like we've been talking about this whole stream is like, it's applicable today. I feel like I could see this in a movie. I could see this in a TV show. It's just got it's got a real mood to it.
Let's hear Loving in the Morning.
Baby, sun's rising, see it rising, and it looks alright. Baby, sun's shining, see it shining, and it feels alright. Sugar in my coffee, jelly on my toast, loving in the morning is what I like the most. Baby, moving with a fever, moving with a fever, and it's getting real hot. Baby, I say I got a fever, I say I got a fever, but you know what I got. Sugar in my coffee, jelly on my toast, loving in the morning is what I like the most. Sugar in my coffee.
Yeah, I feel like it's the ultimate, really paints the picture, really envelops. It's got some mood. Yeah. The mood, as the kids say.
I imagine myself driving around in a car with the sunset. Oh my God. And it's so nice that we can play almost a full track because Ben has the rights to it. And, it's always a thing. I would love to play more songs in full, but, YouTube is very strict, but I couldn't stop this one. It sets you in a mood. It's not a long song. It's 2 minutes 40 seconds, but it immediately sets you in the mood.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Kip shared as we've been talking a lot about his career, me and him. Kip shared that he actually wrote a bridge for this song that the producer convinced him not to use. They cut that out and they just went with just that kind of groove with the verse and the chorus. So there was a bridge at one time that never got laid down on tape. But hey, it is what it is. And that's kind of the beauty of it. It's just this short little thing, a little groove and a little mood.
And yeah, as a DJ, that's what I love about something like this, because you put it on like this. That's enough for me. And Loving in the Morning, just two different moods, but two definitive moods. And you put this on. I can't wait to be spinning one night and just put this on and have like the vibe envelop the room. And it's gonna be a who is this kind of moment, because that's as a DJ, like the most rewarding thing you can do is have someone walk up to the DJ booth and be like, "Who are you playing right now?" Yeah. And then you get to tell them and spread the word.
It's awesome, and I really can't wait. And Ben, you know, you already got some requests about the full length album on vinyl. You know, you've seen that. So in 6 or 8 months, I hope we can do a live stream again where you guys present the album.
Yeah, I'm working on.
So, and also,
but Ben, do you think about doing a documentary about Kip? I mean, you are sitting at the source.
Yes, that is planned and in the works. It's kind of goes back a ways. My wife she went to film school. She has editing skills, and you know, she knows her way around a camera, and she knows what she's doing. So we have had that plan for a while. We started on it in 2019, but COVID kind of disrupted everything. So got a little road bump there, and we've been planning to get that back going. You know, I'm kind of working out the beats of it with Kip, and Kip's had the dental issues he's working through. Long story there, but that is planned, and I'm hoping to get that done by the end of the year. But that is absolutely in the works. And I'll be putting out some other things, kind of telling bits and pieces of Kip's story. I've got various promo things planned that are, you know, in the vinyl community, outside of the vinyl community. I've got some connections in the hip hop world that may want to make use of some of this material. So a lot of things in the works there, but look out for more kind of telling Kip's story.
So if people want to be up to date about the latest projects about Kip, how is that possible? Going on his website or going on his social media? How can people be connected?
Yeah, I need to get this part worked out. But if you follow me on Instagram, my Instagram name is Takis. It's my name, but with an X at the beginning. XENTAKIS on Instagram. I will certainly be posting about anything that comes up. Kip just started an Instagram at Kip Carmen Music. There's nothing there yet, but you know, we will see. So there for sure. But anything big will certainly go up on Kip's website, kipcarmen.com. I've got a whole page for this release under new releases. So yeah, follow me on Instagram, follow Graham at Continue Sound.
Yeah, I'll be mentioning anything Kip related. It's not just this single, but you know, I'll be a champion of Kip in any way I can. So we'll start here and excited to see where it goes.
Graham, if people want to find you on Instagram, it's Continued Sound?
Yes, all things my label and music I'm into, and the next release is coming. But yeah, and more Kip stuff to come. I think we're going to do we're going to dig into the packaging of this and talk about the cool variants and stuff. So I'm going to put out a video of that pretty soon. And so yeah, follow me and continuedsound.com for if you wanted to pre-order the record or buy the record. Yeah, you'll know where to find me.
Yeah. And if you're in Germany and you want to pre-order the single, you can do it on souldisco.de/com, which once again, I feel very privileged to have the product in the store of Kip. That was really fantastic when you guys announced that you're going to do this, and I've heard the tracks and I was like, oh, I'm gonna love it. It's just mind blowing to have Kip's music. So such a treasure from the past.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we know the connection between Europe and American soul music. I learned it a couple of years ago, just to realize that oftentimes Germans and French and Europeans, they know more about American soul music than we do in America, which is will never cease to amaze me.
You know, there's a phrase from Marvin Gaye I read somewhere. He says, when I'm appearing in the United States, I do the medleys of the oldies, because that's the time when people pick up the hot dogs and popcorn or go to the bathroom. Mm-hmm. When I appear in Europe, I can't do that. They want to have, in the best possible way, the full songs and chronicle order to have it, you know. So that's the difference, I think.
Respectful. That's the respect that Marvin Gaye deserves.
Yeah, totally. And I think many artists who had their biggest time in the US, like in the 70s, are superstars in the UK. Mm-hmm. You know, I've read so many stories where people like Gwen McGree, when she landed in the UK and she was treated like a queen, like a superstar, and she was so touched and crying because she was treated the way she also deserves to be treated, you know, and she didn't know that from the US. Yeah, so I cherish that.
And it blows my mind as well that this music has just gone so far, and there's a tradition of Europeans revering American soul music, jazz, R&B more than Americans. I thinking back to the Beatles even, but just the fact that people dig so deep as to find somebody like Kip before we were out there and trying to spread the word. You know, Kip had people reaching out to him. That is just so amazing that people out there, and you people in Europe and Sweden and Greece, all of these countries, we've heard from folks. So it's amazing that you dig so deep.
And it's not just anyone. It's a testament to the music. I think they recognize great music when they hear it, and they want to spread the word. And I think that's what all three of us do, and what makes us feel, you know, so special is being able to share great music. And yeah, it has a life of its own.
Yeah, and I think if you're talented and you put out good music, it never gets old. Mm-hmm. It never gets forgotten, because somehow, somewhere, someone picked up a record from a dollar bin, for example, and here's in like, oh, holy shit, this is so great, and the word spreads out, mm-hmm. and you get this recognition. It's the same with the Joanne Garrett record I have here. Mm-hmm. She just made that one album and disappeared. Stellar performer. Absolutely stellar. And I think if you have that quality, and if you're able to transport your emotion on the music, that all is needed. Back in the days, those people didn't need auto-tune. They really had to sing. They needed to play an instrument. And with Kip, I always have the impression that he sings and it goes through his heart and comes out of his mouth. So that's how I feel about his music. When first time I've heard it, I was like, oh, wow, where have you been all my life, you know?
I'm sure he loved that comment right there. Hey, can we play something else? Maybe, and this sure. I can guarantee this has never been heard anywhere until a week or so ago when I put this on streaming platforms. But there's a song on the collection that's an instrumental, but just to show you some of the range Kip had, called Breakout. I forget what track number it is. Maybe 5 or 6 or something like that. Just the instrumental, just kind of show some chops and some groove.
So if you want to find the tracks I'm playing, there's a YouTube channel. I think it hasn't been done by you, Ben.
YouTube kind of organizes a lot of this into like topics. So they kind of
I'm sorry. So because it's called Kip Carmen theme.
Yeah, I think that's YouTube generated, but we put it out. It's an album on YouTube Music. You can find it Spotify, wherever you go.
Okay, so let's hear Breakout. Let's go for it. I love that. Yeah. It's my new favorite song at the moment.
Yeah,
everyone in the
what
comments
hidden
says the
treasures
commercial
out there.
viability of it is.
Yeah.
this was hidden even from me. Kip showed me this. He found it on a cassette tape. Showed it to me a couple of years ago, a year or two ago, something like that. But he recorded this just like one take, maybe. It was a studio in Long Island where they were teaching an audio production class, and they said, "Okay, come in. You can record something for free. The students will get to learn how to work the board." And they just let it rip and recorded 4 songs that are on that collection. But it shows you they were tight. They were playing these songs live. They didn't need to do stuff over for the most part. And the musicianship was just at that level where they could just do that and gel. So.
Wow. Man, if I would have known when you first talked to me and said, I have some unreleased material from Kip Carmen. I would have never expected such a treasure. I've heard a couple of songs back then when you played them to me, and I said, if you want to release them, Graham would be the perfect person for you, because he's passionate about this, and that would be wow. Mm-hmm. Graham, thank you for bringing this out.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. It couldn't have been a better label to do this. And Ben, thank you so much for all the work you put into this, and the way you talk about it, the way you present it. I know how important this is to you, and this is just amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for
personal
having me.
mission now, but thank you for putting me in touch with Graham, and thank you for Graham for putting up all the effort and the funds to get this rolling, and hopefully we can break even.
Hey,
yeah,
no price on putting this music back in the world. And I knew that his sound and his the infectious nature of playing his music, all people need to do is hear it, and they want to hear more. And I knew it then, and I know it now.
Yeah, and look what Rocco wrote. Even cooler story. Amazing how spoiled the world was back in the day. Something like this was throw off. Yes, totally right. Totally right. So, guys, thank you so much. It was a pleasure. I can't wait for more. I'm so happy that this is out. And really, Kip, if you're still watching, thank you so much for the music. And you just brought a lot of joy, at least into my life with this music. I enjoyed it so much, and I can't wait to hear all of it. Maybe you can do a compilation, not a compilation, but maybe a box set or something like this.
Yeah, let's we've got there's maybe 25 to 35-ish songs kind of total in the catalog. So, and I'm always looking. There are places where their stuff might be. I mean, this is part of what goes into finding old recordings. It's a long story. You can't even imagine, but there are sources that I'm working on where there might be tapes and I'm trying to get access. This will go on for a while, and eventually I will have exhausted every possibility, but I'm still going to be looking for more.
Yeah, and Rocco will get in touch with you guys. It would be great, also great, Rocco, if you would get in touch with me. You're promising me to get in touch with me. No, Rocco, once again, a great channel, and also the links for these guys' YouTube's channel I put down in the description. I also put down in the description the website of Kip. Kip, thank you for joining, that you participated in the stream. I can't wait for the documentary, and thanks for the gallery who was there and listening to it. And yeah, guys, once again, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Anytime. Thank you.
Yeah. And Graham, I can't wait for your next release.
Yeah. Keep your eyes out.
Can you say something about it? No?
The release after this one?
Yeah.
Very soon, if you follow, I want to tease it. So very soon, if you follow the account, there's going to be a very cool release I'm looking forward to, and I think you will too.
Yeah, and we will be having a live stream, the two of us, I think around May or something like this. I have an announcement too. I can make an announcement too somehow. And I'm looking forward to this one as well. So once again, you find all the information in the description after the stream. I put everything up there. And if people want to get in touch with Kip, is that possible?
He's on Facebook. And I reach out through his website. I think those emails go to me, but I can get them to Kip. So yeah, those are probably the best ways to reach directly to Kip.
Yeah, it would be awesome if you could sign my record, which I just bought.
Oh, okay.
I'm a big fan now.
Yeah. Well, we can figure out. We'll figure that out.
Okay. Thank you so much once again. Thanks everybody who was watching, who will later watch, and a special thanks to Graham and Ben. Thank you.
Thank you.